The Buffalo Sabres may be the hottest team in the NHL right now. They're on an 8-game winning streak. Joe DiBiase of Locked On Sabres is here to talk about how they turned it around and are they for real? All of that and more next on today's Locked On NHL Podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here, and welcome everybody to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Sabres, Joe DiBiase. And Joe, you got to be happy right now. The Buffalo Sabres are on an 8-game winning streak. What's been different about this team over the last 8 games?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I don't know if you've ever had me on when things were going well for Buffalo, and that's not your fault. It's just it never has happened, not recently at least. They have been a completely different looking team since I think a couple of things. They got healthy from early parts of the season when they had a ton of injuries, and they changed their GM, and I really do believe that there is a different energy within the room, whether that is, playing for your coach, because that guy's status will always be in doubt no matter who he is when you have a GM change, whether that legitimately is energy behind. They went from a guy that was very underqualified to be in the job to, okay, we've got a real professional GM and hockey department that is building here. And if your team upstairs begins to take things seriously, I think that can be infectious to the players and the locker room. And I think overall, their compete level from beginning to end in games has been significantly better. Again, I mentioned the health. I think they really are running 3 lines deep right now that can score goals, and they're getting even decent contribution from their 4th line. So there's a depth about the lineup right now that hasn't been true in a very long time. Really just kind of everybody seems to be pulling their weight. I mean, to win a game on Saturday night against Boston where you don't have Rasmus Dahlin because he's back in Sweden for the next couple of days, that if you see the Sabres without Dahlin in the past couple of years, they are a bad hockey team, and they were dominant without him. And I think it speaks to really they have guys that are stepping up when they need to step up.
You talked about guys getting healthy. Is there one player in particular who you think was the key to that resurgence?
Number one would definitely for me be Josh Norris. Josh Norris, who's had a lot of injury problems in his career, and fingers crossed, there's no guarantee that he's going to go another month even staying healthy. But for now, he's in the lineup, and he's been a point-a-game player. 11 points in 11 games. He's been contributing offensively. He's kind of running his own line right now. Tage is running his own line. Norris has gone down to kind of a 1B line, and he's playing good minutes. He's playing power play. I think that's been a big contribution. Is the Sabres have been searching for the right flank man opposite of Thompson on the power play really for 3-4 years now, and have never really found their way to a good answer. Norris being on his one-timer, having a good shot, being a pretty good puck handler, I think he's really helped the power play on top of that. So a bunch of guys have helped for sure. Noah Ostlund, a rookie, stepping into the lineup has been big. Jordan Greenway, even coming back from injury, has helped little by little here and there. But the biggest contribution, them not having Norris for the first month of the year, you could say that's a criticism of the last GM. It's, hey, you were reliant on a player that is really injury prone, but you are seeing why he's so good and why they were hoping he could play a big role, because when he is available to them, he has really produced.
Talk to me about the goaltending and Alex Lyon in particular.
Yeah, Lyon's been great. Lyon has been on a bit of a tear, and he's really the only goalie that's given the Sabres consistent goaltending all year, and there was a large middle where he wasn't doing that. And I think the common thread is he played the first 6 games of the year. Just throw him in, let him get in a rhythm, let him play night to night, and that went really well. And then they started playing around with this 3-goalie system. Luukkonen came back from injury, and nobody really was able to get in that rhythm. And it was one guy, then the next guy, then the next guy. They were really playing this make it, take it version of goaltending, where if one guy had a good start, he'd get the next game, and then he'd go again, and the same would go on to the next guy. But what that can mean is if you have one bad game, which happened to Lyon, you find yourself out of the rotation for like 3 weeks because there's only so many games, and the other two will mix in a good gamer here and there. But recently on this win streak, it's, you know what, let's just throw Lyon back in there and just let him go. And it's went well again. It was very surprising to me. They went with Luukkonen on 4 days rest against Boston, and I was very nervous that was going to blow up in their face because he's been very inconsistent. But, it does help when your second best goalie is in there that you limited the Bruins to like 10 shots going into the final 5 minutes of the game. That is one way to counteract a worry in net, is never let the other team get shots on goal. But he was okay. But Lyon has absolutely been the catalyst, I think, to the better goaltending more than anybody else.
Talk to me about the penalty kill, because it's third in the league right now, and it seems to be a big reason for this team's success.
That's maybe been their most constant all year. Like, power play's been up and down, goaltending's been up and down, the goal scoring's been up and down. Their penalty kills has been rock solid all year. And I think their personnel speaks to that. They've got a lot of guys that are really strong penalty killers. Sometimes they don't have enough ice time on the penalty kill. Like Zach Benson, for instance, is a very good penalty killer. And you don't always see him out there because Ryan McLeod is one of the best penalty killers I've ever seen for the Buffalo Sabres. The combination of his skating and his stick checking ability. I mean, the skating is really number one. He's one of the 5, if you look at the player tracking at NHL Edge, like he's one of the 5 best skaters in the NHL. He's not very physical, but on the penalty kill, that's not really a big deal anyway when you're one of those forward men, like you're trying to take away space. And he's been huge for that. I think Alex Tuch does a lot of the same things that McLeod does. Like, they have great skaters on the penalty kill, and they will just be on top of you. If you flub the puck just a little bit, the pressure that they will come at you with makes it very tough for an opposing power play. So I think it's the depth of the penalty killers. Beck Malenstein's a good penalty killer for them. Greenway's been a very good penalty killer for them. But I feel like they've got one of these penalty kills where, again, like if you give them even half a second, they're going to attack you on the puck and force a lot of turnovers.
This team has clawed their way back into a tie for a playoff spot entering Sunday's action. Same number of points as the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
Is this resurgence for real? And how does the team handle things leading up to the trade deadline?
It's a good question, because I'm buying in that it is real, but I'm not all the way there yet. I mean, really, when you look at an 8-game win streak, there's more than just the results. There is, how are they playing throughout all of these games? My eyes tell me that they're playing a lot better. There have been periods where they have dominated. They had a second period against the Devils the other night, playing, by the way, a back-to-back. They had played the night before, and they crushed the Devils for 20 minutes straight. They won the game because of that one period. They just never let the puck go. They always had possession. They have these 20-minute stretches where they look like one of the best teams in the league. And they really have not had, I would say, any bad stretches. I mean, I think there's a thing going on right now where you look at the numbers for the Sabres during this win streak, and they don't look good. They don't look good at all. Like, they are giving up more shot attempts. They're giving up more shots, scoring chances. But I think I want to attribute that to kind of how the game flow has been going. Also, it's a small sample size. They have been leading during this win streak, going into last night at least. They had been leading for 186 minutes of 5-on-5 time and trailing for 16 minutes. And I think that really plays into why your numbers don't always look great, is if you're always ahead by 1 or 2 goals in the third period, what are you going to naturally do? You're going to back off. You're going to play a little bit of prevent defense. The other team's going to pile up shots from the wall. And at the end of the day, it's, we got outshot, but we were up by 2 for 35 minutes of the game. That's probably why. So I kind of want to push all those numbers off to the side right now. We're trying to determine how good they are and just look at how the flow of the game is going. Look how the roster is going, how the individuals are really stepping up and performing. And I feel like they are for real to some extent. I look at the standings and I look at Florida. They'll get Kachuk back at some point. They'll get a little bit healthier. They won't get Barkov, but they're going to get a little healthier. Tampa is, I think, always capable of going on that run. Like, there are some of these teams that have staying power where, like, I'm not really expecting them to catch a Florida. I'm not expecting them to catch a Tampa. But are they as good as Montreal? Are they as good as even Detroit? Are they as good as Philadelphia? Like some of these teams that are in playoff spots right now, I feel like they are at least as good as, and definitely could even be better than. So I think they are very much the caliber of team that you're seeing that is in the playoffs right now. So I believe they can make it. I don't think they have to make it. I don't think they are, capable of winning the division, but I think they are as good as several teams that are currently in the playoff picture.
All right, Joe, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Sure. You can check the podcast out wherever you get your podcast, YouTube as well. If you're interested, Everydayer Club right now, going well. Check that out, lockedonsabres.supercast.com, and you can follow me on Twitter at SneakyJoeSports.
All right, Joe, thanks so much.
Thanks, Gil.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like being near the ice during hockey season. The speed, the hits, the atmosphere, it's unmatched. Watching at home is great, but being in the building is a completely different experience. And the only thing that used to get in the way was actually getting tickets. Long queues, endless screens, and prices that are changing at checkout. That's why the Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing NHL tickets and experiences in just a few taps. The zone deals are clutch. You choose the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save even more. And I love seeing that NHL tickets can be available for as low as $25. It makes it easy to plan a game night. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Check it out.